Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Real Talks Dominate Real Estate. It's August 17th, 2020, and I'm Charlie Bengel.
And I'm Meaza. Grab a cup of coffee and let's make your real estate career better.
Happy Monday, Eyerusalem. I hope you had a great weekend.
Thanks, you too. Happy Monday.
Well, what's in the news today?
Well, home prices continue to accelerate. Nearly every major metro area across the country saw home prices continue to escalate in the second quarter. Median single-family home prices increased year over year in 96% of measured markets, or 174 out of 181 during the quarter, according to the latest report from the National Association of Realtors. That percentage matches the metro areas in the first quarter that saw price gains. Home prices have held up well, largely due to the combination of very strong demand for housing and a limited supply of homes for sale, says Lawrence Heon, NAR's chief economist. Historically low inventory continues to reinforce and even increase prices in some areas. The national median existing single-family home price in the second quarter was $291,300, up 4.2% annually. That is, however, a slower pace of appreciation compared to the pre-pandemic growth rate of 7.7% that was recorded in the first quarter, NAR reports. Home prices continue to rise as buyer demand remains high and a limited number of homes are for sale. At the end of the second quarter, 1.57 million existing homes were available for sale, which is 18.2% lower than the total inventory from a year ago. But fewer choices aren't holding back buyers. Low mortgage rates, which have recently dipped below 3% for the first time, will attract more buyers into the market, Young says. Those lower rates can make a difference in monthly payments, although housing prices have consistently moved higher when the favorable mortgage rates are factored in, and overall home purchase was more affordable in the 2020's second quarter compared to 1 year ago. For example, a household with a median family income of $82,471 spent 14.8% of their income on mortgage payments in the second quarter. That is less than the 16.4% figure of a year ago. While low mortgage rates may be an incentive to buy, unless an increasing number of new homes are constructed, some buyers could miss out the opportunity to purchase a home or have the opportunity delayed, Young says. In the meantime, prices show no signs of decreasing. In other news, are we witnessing the end of professional real estate photography? Just as the muralist has a brush and a wall, or the software developer has a code, the photographer has a camera. Still, it remains merely a tool, a device for helping mediate the strife between light and shadow, a way to execute the vision. Because of this, and because fingers in MLS photos persist to this day, the need for professional photography in real estate will never completely go away. However, is the market for it wilting under the combined pressure of mobile phone camera, sophistication, photography apps, and rapid high-end editing services. For evidence on how quickly real estate marketing media and image marketing is evolving, look to Matterport, the segment's pioneer and the only real 3D tour tech at one point. Last year, to compete with coders who build software for manufacturers of 360-degree cameras and smartphones, a fraction of the size of Matterport's Pro 3D camera, the company developed its own app, a reaction to a market that's becoming more handheld seemingly by the month. The same can be said about a photographer's camera. Companies such as Australia's Box Brownie used to offer a way to find and connect to professional photographers, a resource it removed recently. Since the inception of the iPhone 11 Pro, the game has changed. Smartphones like the iPhone 11 Pro and the Samsung Galaxy S20 are just as good, if not better, than the high-priced digital SLRs, Box Brownie's Peter Shrovmade said in an email. One of Box Brownie's founders, professional photographer Brad Filipponi, published a video comparing results between a DSLR camera, digital single-lens reflex, to the two phones in a listing shoot. Each photo was edited as it would be before delivery to an agent, with all assumption of objectivity in editing, and noting that Filipponi is a professional, there isn't a noticeable difference in quality between the three. Moreover, unless there's a point of difference between the quality you can deliver as a professional and the quality I can shoot as an amateur, we're witnessing the beginning of the end for the professional photographer as we know it, Shrovmade said. Today, he's absolutely able to walk into a property with either of those smartphones, a tripod, a smartphone mount, shoot the property with the deliverable quality after editing, placing that shoot inside the top 5% of the American real estate property marketing. But is the industry in agreement? It varies. Some agents believe that photographers and videographers are absolutely every home that we list are needed, absolutely every home that we list for sale. Every seller deserves their home to be represented and marketed in a top-notch manner. Jesse Peters of Remax Executives and team leader with the Jesse Peters team in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, stands out from those on Facebook, though. He believes that COVID-19 will continue to limit who can visit properties and that the evolution of real estate marketing technology is already affecting how professional photographers compete. It appears photographers will still have a role in the marketing plans of real estate brokerages, yet there's unquestionably a shakeup underway. Likely these trends even out just like the iBuyer spike did, with agents being able to offer sellers a range of alternatives and not really just leave the transaction. Their role will merely change. In other news, 2 straight weeks of record low mortgage rates brought consumers back to their lenders, but rates may now be reversing course. Mortgage application volume rose a significant 6.8% last week compared with the previous week, according to the Mortgage Bankers Association's seasonally adjusted index. This after they pulled back slightly the week before. Mortgage rates fell across the board last week as investors grew less optimistic of the economic rebound given the resurgence of virus cases. Loan types such as the 30-year fixed, 15-year fixed, and jumbo all reached survey lows, says Joel Kahn, an MBA economist. Mortgage applications to refinance a home, which are most rate sensitive, jumped 9% for the week and were 47% higher than the same week 1 year ago. The annual comparison, while still strong, has been shrinking dramatically over the last weeks. The refinance share of mortgage activity increased to 65.7% of total applications from 63.9% the previous week. This is the highest share since April. Mortgage applications to purchase a home rose 2% for the week and were a strong 22% higher than the same week 1 year ago. While this is still positive news for the purchase market, the gradual slowdown in the improvement in the job market and tight housing inventory remain a concern for the coming months, even as low mortgage rates continue to provide support, added Can. That support from low rates may also be waiting. Mortgage rates rose sharply last Tuesday amid a sell-off in the bond market. Mortgage rates loosely follow the yield on the 10-year U.S. Treasury. According to Matthew Graham, Chief Operating Officer at Mortgage News Daily, days like today should serve to increase our level of caution when it comes to assuming rates will continue to move lower. Also, it should argue for an increased level of preparation so we can make sure that we can take advantage of opportunities to capitalize on any potential rate recovery. Charlie, what's going on with rates?
Lots of conversations about mortgage rates this morning, but they remain about where they were last week with 30-year fixed rate at 3%, the jumbo at 2 3/4, as with FHA and VA. These are purchase rates based in the Washington metropolitan market brought to us by PNC Mortgage. In some other news regarding rates, the Federal Housing Finance Agency decided to put a half-point requirement on refinances beginning on September 1st. So if you're refinancing and your mortgage is $400,000, that's an extra $2,000 in fees you have to pay after September 1st. So that was a little bit of a surprise last week, and NAR and the Mortgage Bankers Association are fighting that. But that may put a little bit of a damper on some of these refis. Back over to you, Eyerusalem, to discuss the market.
In the last week in the Hampton Roads, we saw 746 new listings hit the market, 892 properties go pending, and 777 properties sold. In the last week in the Washington metro area, within 30 miles of the White House, we saw 1,424 new listings hit the market, 1,297 go pending, and 866 sold. Back over to Charlie with our special guest.
I think that last week was one of the first weeks that we've seen more listings go on the market in the Washington metropolitan market than actually go under contract. I think a lot of people are at the beach. I didn't think a lot of people would be at the beach, but my parking garage is like half empty. It's pretty weird. Anyway, always good to see you, Amy Lassen. I'd like to welcome Coach Amy Lassen to the show. Good to see you, Amy. And we are going to be discussing, I'm just too busy to prospect. Scheduling. And while we try to come up with these topics in advance, you and I talked about this last week, I was actually talking to a coaching client an hour ago about this very subject. And we decided to monetize what he makes every day by doing his hour of power, or what he loses every day by not. $1,500 a day.
Wow.
If you don't time block that hour. So anyway, I digress. We hear from a lot of agents, I'm just too busy to prospect. Where do we start in helping them overcome that mindset, frankly?
Well, I don't know. I think you've said something really interesting to me. So now I just want to mess with it because you said something about the value of that hour. And I think we all acknowledge it, right? And so we look at what is the value of our time overall and where do we spend our time?
Yeah.
And most agents would rather do the assistant style work than the prospecting. But think about the teams or the really busy agents whose dream is to have someone else do their prospecting. And I've heard this is really controversial, and maybe this is too much for our audience, but I've heard plenty of big teams and coaches strongly recommend hiring that person to do that for you. But I heard a very, very, very successful team leader say, why would you delegate the single most important thing in your business, which is talking to leads? So on the topic of ISAs, if you've been praying that somebody else would do your lead gen for you, maybe that was a flash in the pan that dialing for dollars could be delegated. So anyway, that would be an interesting topic to say, where should your time go? And then really like outline the CEO, COO, CFO tasks.
Yeah, no, I do think that's an interesting topic. And there is a real estate coach that you and I both know who recently retired from sales. And he, as an experiment, had hired somebody who was calling his sphere and past clients.
Mm-hmm.
But he wasn't doing that to get out of calls. He was doing that so he could still call FSBOs and expireds because he thought he was the best at it.
Interesting.
And he thought his time. Now, there might be some agents going, wait a minute. Right. I would much rather, first of all, I don't want to make my calls.
Sure.
But if I do need to make my calls, I'm sure as hell going to be making them to my past clients in Sphere, not to expireds and FSBOs, right? I'm going to run for the hills before I call those people. But I thought it was an interesting strategy because this person that he hired to make his calls, was basically, hey, it's Amy Lassen calling from, the Bengel group over here at Remax Allegiance. Charlie wanted me to reach out and see how things were going. Do you need a reference to a trade? Do you have any questions about real estate? Do you want to know your home's value? So I thought that was rather interesting.
Is this person an analytical?
Yes.
That's why. So here's the thing, guys, and this is an awesome moment, and I wish I could see the faces of everyone listening. People say the conventional wisdom is you hire your opposite. Like if you hire an assistant, hire the opposite of you. No. You always hire the person for the job, whatever the job is. And so this person is an analytical, and he feels like he is way better at cold calling than the average person, which he is.
Yeah.
Right? So he hired somebody way warmer and fuzzier than him to do the warm and fuzzy job. He hired someone for the job. That's all. So Anybody listening, this is not saying every single one of us should delegate the client care of our own closest people. No, only the people who don't like people. Those are the ones who should do that.
Very good. I'll have to tell you who this is when we're offline, and I don't think you'll be surprised.
No, but I called it, didn't I?
Totally. Yeah.
Okay, so the topic for the show today is I'm too busy to prospect, right? So we just want to address this because if you're too busy to prospect, then you're on your way to going out of business, right? It's like a fire sale. You're just gonna, do what you can with what you got, and eventually you won't have any clients, and that's just the way it is. Charlie, I thought of something to add to our list, though. I don't know where to put it, so I'm just going to say it now. Here's maybe one but. If you have a lot of listings and you put a lot of intention in marketing those listings, managing what is, which is one of my categories, handling the stuff in front of you, which is your active listings, could be an extraordinary way to do lead generation, by the way. But that could also be hired out.
Agreed.
Yeah. So first things first. The question is, why are you so busy? Because you and I both know, Charlie, so many people say, oh, I'm swamped, I'm buried. How many do you have under contract? 2.
Right.
Okay, right. So first of all, you're not organized, right? And I'm not trying to be unkind, but I want to open your eyes to the fact that if you would systematize your business a little bit better, I think the word is systemize. If you would be more streamlined and have repeating processes, that would save you so much time. So first thing we want to do is clean up and save time. And one of the best ways to do that is to set better expectations with buyers and sellers. One of the biggest time drains is having your buyer or seller call you in distress or email you at 11 at night, or be frantically trying to reach you while you're trying to do something else. People say this to you and me all the time. I put it on my calendar. I was going to do my prospecting, but the phone blew up. Well, if you do a better job of setting expectations at the original listing appointment, at the initial buyer consultation, manage those expectations as you go, set a really good timeline and continue to remind them of what's coming up, that really will help you to control your ability to focus on lead generation when you intended to.
I like it. Good. So working to create systems, we're setting the expectations with buyers and sellers about how things are going to be working as we work together. What's next on your list?
Delegate what you can.
Okay.
And for those,
tell me more about that.
Well, so if you're in the, and I'm a perfect example. So if you're in a situation where you find yourself, you're just on fire and somebody says, you know what you need? You need a really good fire plan. It's like, too late, it's already on fire, right? So I get that. I get that you're busy right now. And this happened to me this last week. I have taken on more coaching clients than I ever have in my career. And suddenly I have 2 listings and 3 buyers. Pants on fire. So last night I finally pulled the trigger and hired a TC. In the middle of the night, she got back to me and said, I'm on it. Now, I had vetted this person before. I had this in the pipeline, but I didn't have any deals. I'm a coach and a trainer, and I do a lot of other things. So I am headed into Tony Robbins Business Mastery this week. That's 14-hour days. I had to put something in place to have my back. So I delegated what I could, right?
And I like that this was planned.
True.
Right? It was like you identified the person, you vetted them. You're like, when I need this, this is who I'm going to. It wasn't, oh my gosh, I need this. Where do I start?
Sure.
So I think those out there that think I'm not quite there, I don't need one yet.
Oh my goodness.
Go through the process. So then you have these people identified. It's like, you're going through the process and identifying the agents in the office that could be your showing agents when you need a showing agent. Instead of it's pants on fire, need a plan, you're just implementing your plan, basically.
Yep.
Right.
But for those who have their pants on fire now and say, yeah, all very well and good, she thought ahead, I haven't. It's not as hard as you think, maybe. It depends on your market. But believe me that TCs exist. And I'm not saying hire some person that you have to train to be your partner. Assistant. And this is, for some odd reason, a really big confusion. There are professional transaction coordinators. It is what they do. And whenever I try to define this for my coaching clients, they'll say, yeah, there's this one over at such and such brokerage. No. I'm not talking about someone else's staff member. Right? There are people who have a paperchasers.com or whatever. They have their own business. Identify them. And if you don't know how, contact your favorite title people, settlement people, and your favorite lenders and say, who do you see a volume of emails from that seems really on top of it? Because these people say, I am the TC for so-and-so. So I would say start there, start with your title and lending people and get some recommendations and put one of those in the pipeline. The other thing is there are quick things that you can delegate. You can get a teenager to stuff envelopes for you, to drop things at doors. It amazes me how much people continue to do these types of things themselves and feel helpless when you could. What you said about a showing agent, I've been very happy to share that I have a showing agent at the office, and he's so reliable and he's so fantastic. Well, there was a reason he was willing to work by the hour. He wasn't doing a very good job of ramping up his own business. And I contacted him the other day, and guess what? He gave up his license. So now I want to use him for field services. Like, super reliable guy. For whatever reason, he doesn't have the confidence to grow a real estate business. He's really, really a good, sturdy, helpful person. And I can pay him by the hour for all kinds of things. I don't have time to do. So I'd say be creative. And so delegate what you can. We're starting at the bottom here. Ideally, we all have a TC online or a full-time assistant, but get what you can.
Good. What about time blocking?
What about it?
Talk to me about that.
I feel like it just confuses people.
So if I were to look at your schedule, and let me take a step back. If you're a full-time agent, you're selling, you're not a coach.
Yep.
Should I not see prospecting in your calendar every day?
Oh, of course. Okay, so yeah, it's funny that I feel like we're repeating ourselves, and this is like the 20th time we've had this conversation, and so I'm wanting to address it differently. But no, we need to start from the beginning. Yeah, first things first, put it on your calendar. And the thing that I say to people who are struggling with their time blocking is I say, how about 4 days a week? How about it's 9 to 10, 4 days a week, and give yourself some grace. Or maybe you do it 5 days a week, knowing that the one day that gets hijacked is okay. But what I often see is people who struggle to be committed to schedule. They try to over structure their calendar, and then they fail really quickly.
Right.
Developing a calendar discipline takes time. So don't shame yourself or give yourself a hard time if you set an intention for 1 week and it goes sideways. So I recommend, yes, start with one thing, and prospecting would be that one thing. I would say block that out and make it sacred, and try it at least for a week and tell me how it went. Just promise yourself, right? Promise yourself you'll hold it sacred. And Charlie, I think talking about whether or not you're a coach is an interesting thing, because I get to say this to my coaching clients eye to eye. I say, here's the thing. I would never cancel my coaching call with you because somebody asked to see a house.
Right.
Ever. So I have something in my calendar that's so sacred, right? So what happens? What do? I have a plan, right? I absolutely have to. And I said that I think the first thing that we can all do when someone calls and says, I have to see this house at 9 o'clock while you meant to be prospecting. Most of us are so excited to get the come show me call that we just say, okay. And the first thing is, oh, tell me what you like about that house. We always affirm, right? Oh, that's great. How long you been looking for a house, right? Always affirm. Whether this is a cold lead or somebody and we can address the Zillow leads. But then we have to say, actually, I have an appointment at that time. Would 10:30 work for you? They'll say yes.
Right.
So first things we have to do is do our best to control it. And I think we mostly don't even try. If someone calls and says, I need this now, we don't even ask. And I've been shocked, Charlie, at the number of times I've said, sure, no problem. And then they change their mind because it was arbitrary.
Right. Yeah.
Random. And then they're like, oh, wait, actually, can I do 1 o'clock? I'm like, why didn't I say that?
Right.
So I would say first things first, try. Ask more questions and try really hard to hold it sacred for 1 week and see how it feels.
Good. Okay. What's next on your list?
Plan your day the night before. No joke. When we wake up in the whirlwind, right? It's like, boy, I hope I get my shower and my coffee. I think when you're that busy, and then you jump and you've got part of your to-do list written on a piece of paper, and part of it is in some sort of electronic system, and you're not really sure. And hopefully, and if you don't have this, you can look at our previous shows about systems, but hopefully you have a system for your under contracts, right? You have a way of tracking all your dates and deadlines. That needs to be in place. But just the general to-do. For example, for me, this week I've already shared, I have a lot of real estate. I have a lot of coaching clients, and now I'm going to be out of commission for 14 hours doing Tony Robbins.
Right.
So my to-do list is really granular. I've got time estimates. I keep it up in front of me. I keep pulling it up on my other screen. Really, pretty much every half hour, I look at it again. Every time I think of something, it goes on the list. I'm not trusting my memory. That's another thing. So the concept of planning your day the night before is you kind of dump it, and then oh yeah, okay, it'll wait till morning. And then your brain doesn't, nag you or keep you awake with stress.
Yeah, no, I like that. What's next?
I'm going to read this one out that I wrote. Get your paperwork and other admin work done in the evening. Oh, yeah. Okay,
evening paperwork type stuff instead of during the day when we could be prospecting.
Right. So, and I said, if you have to, because I'm not asking all of us to live for our work, right? To work ourselves to death. I'm not asking for that. But I will tell you that right now, with the amount of pressure that I have on me, and I'm choosing to call it pressure rather than stress, right? This is chosen. This is what my daughter calls my chosen suffering. I've chosen this amount of work, and the amount of pressure that I've had has really got me being way more focused. It's like, done next. So it's important to me that I get it done, even if I have to stay up half an hour later than I intended, which is not fun, but it's way better than waking up the next day kind of pants on fire, not sure I'll be able to reach my client, facing a deadline. So that's what I would say is get your paperwork and other admin work done in the evening if you have to.
Right. Good. Okay. What else do you have for this topic?
Well, we're on the topic of prospecting. So for me, hopefully you have a CRM, and CRMs function in a very particular way. The good CRMs have automated reminders, and there's all sorts of things, and you can track every single individual contact. What is up with George? I'll get a reminder to call George every quarter. George's birthday's in there, things like that.
Right.
What it doesn't do, and I haven't, if anybody finds one, put it in the comments. I have not found that any CRM will also create sort of a master overview report that looks kind of like a spreadsheet.
Okay.
I would love to be able to sort out my A's and put them in a table. Just 2 buttons. That would be great. But I don't think it's a thing. So I recommend that you have your 100 top people on a spreadsheet.
Okay.
Keep them up in visual. Don't forget about John and Jean. Like, oh dear heavens, how have they slipped by my notice, right? Having people be top of mind, I think, really helps with prospecting.
Good. Awesome. I also have a note here, tracking of our pipeline.
Yes. That can, I think, be really inspiring. Your pipeline is who's coming up. So this is less prospecting more than, this is something I differentiate with my coaching clients. You know, I'll ask and they'll say, oh, no, I'm totally on it. I every day I call back those people who said they're listing next week. That's not prospecting. That's minding the pipeline, which is great. And you need to do that. But so minding the pipeline is kind of step 2. We are all guilty of saying, sure, that's awesome. Glad to hear you want to list next month. And then we don't mind that.
Right.
So for me, the pipeline is a visual, and I went from having it be a Word doc to a spreadsheet. And if I were in a different office space, I'd probably have a whiteboard. But I have a spreadsheet that says who's coming up. Here are my opportunities. Here's what they said. Here's how soon I need to follow up. Now, I also have that in my CRM, so there's a ding, but I can't wait for the ding. I need to be able to see it and go, oh, yeah, that's my pipeline. I see.
Okay, awesome. What other ideas do you have for the person that thinks, that has this mindset that they're too busy to prospect?
Just some hacks. Schedule posts on social media when you have the time. You know, put a bunch of content together, schedule the delivery, be done, right? Schedule emails. If you think of something and you really want to reach out to someone and it's 11:30 at night, you can go into Gmail in particular, or you can use Boomerang if you need to assign something as an add-on to your Outlook. And then say, please deliver this at 8:01 tomorrow morning. That way, you know, that drop. And by the way, these are touches, not so much conversations, but still, all of this needs to get done. Also, video text, I've shared so many times. Hey, you know, do a video text. If you're in a hurry, you can do 10 of those, and absolutely you get engagement. It's amazing how people will engage with you. Handwritten notes and calls from the road. It's better to just, you know, spin your contact list and call somebody and say, how are you at a traffic light, than not call at all.
Right. I like that. Good. Any other last minute hacks or ideas on this topic for today?
Always, we offer you a lot more ideas than you can implement quickly and easily, right? We're trying to be a plentiful source of ideas. So I want to encourage everyone listening to take 1 or 2 ideas from what we shared and promise yourself that you'll implement them. Changing habits absolutely takes time. So give yourself some sort of a 7-day sprint. You know, say for 7 days, I'm going to do my best. I'm going to track my outcomes, and then I'm going to recommit in 7 days. I think we shame ourselves for, I tried that, it didn't work. And then that says something about us. And what you need to recognize is there's nothing wrong with you. Habits take time to change. So you have to believe that the outcome is worth the commitment, right? Think of it like going to the gym, right? Do your curls and don't give up. It's a lifetime. You don't really get to get in shape and then stop. That's not a thing. You have to do the work the rest of your life.
I like it. Very good. Always good to see you, Coach Amy Lassen. Let's go back over to Eyerusalem.
Thank you so much for watching, and as always, we are here to make your real estate career better.
Have a good week, everybody. Take care. Thanks.